Hello everyone, and welcome to my EastEnders Media News channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. In the most recent episode of EastEnders, George Knight sought solace from Cindy Beale, and the two shared a kiss following a difficult day for George. Following his knockout in an underground boxing competition, George stayed at Phil Mitchell's home, lying to Elaine Peacock, his fiancée, about having an incident with Phil that resulted in his bruises. George told Elaine that Gloria's dying request to be cremated was being disregarded, and that his nasty adoptive father, Eddie Knight, was preventing him from attending Gloria's funeral. Elaine offered her support, but Cindy expressed concern over George's apparent distress in the square. Cindy demanded that George not allow Eddie to triumph after George gave her an update on Eddie's most recent antics. George received a visit from his Uncle Gordon, Gloria's brother, at the Vic, which gave him hope. However, George spiraled into even more turmoil when Gordon sidestepped the conversation about the funeral plans and instead disclosed that Eddie had given him the order to vacate the apartment. Cindy was shocked when Elaine refused to follow George and just poured herself a drink as George stormed off. After Cindy convinced Phil to tell her the truth about George, they went looking for him on the underground boxing circuit. This time, George was unable to get into the facility, but Cindy took him to the boxing den where she gave him a life-threatening speech. George opened out to Cindy, saying he was running away from his sorrow and loss. She listened as he poured his heart out. He told her, "I don't know who I am anymore," and said he felt alive for the first time since he was fighting. Having lived under a false identity for decades, Cindy clarified that she understood. She did, however, implore George to cling to the things he did know and the people who loved him, including her. George calmed down and told him that Junior, his estranged son, wasn't returning his calls. He was told by Cindy not to give up, and they talked about the approaching 10th anniversary of the passing of her late daughter Lucy Beale. George reached over to give Cindy a kiss, and Cindy returned the favor as they reminisced about their former relationship. Is he going to regret this decision? Tonight at 7:30 p.m. on EastEnders, see our TV guide for full listings. Gloria Knight has a heart attack during Eddie Knight's murder trial, leaving her life in jeopardy. George Knight continues to turn down his fiancée Elaine Peacock's offers of assistance as Eddie's court date approaches. Never one to back down, Lainey teams up with George's ex-wife Cindy Beale to encourage him to talk about the trauma he's going through. Together, the women demand that Eddie be held accountable for the death of George's father, Henry Kofi Asare. Finally, they manage to reach George, who consents to provide a statement disparaging Eddie. As the trial begins, a trembling George enters the stand and is questioned by Eddie's defense team on the other side. To Eddie's dismay, Gloria interrupts the former boxer while they are questioning him, shouting her support for her son. George and Gloria are met with an evil killer's look that makes Gloria struggle to control her emotions. The weak mother eventually finds the day's tension to be too much and leaves the courtroom. Gloria has an unexpected heart attack a few moments later and falls on the ground unconscious. Will Gloria be all right? Denzel Danes is furious when Yolanda Truman spoils his intentions by declining to join her prayer group back on the square. After Yolanda found out the teenager had been organizing a home party without her consent, she put him in the doghouse. Now he remains there. Denzel vents his resentment on Pastor Clayton, but he and Yolanda don't bite the boy's lip and chastise Denzel for being impolite. Together, they regain their friendship by disciplining Denzel. After Yolanda apologizes to the pastor for calling him out on inappropriate behavior, he gives her full control over their charitable endeavors again. This evening at 7:30 p.m. on EastEnders, see our TV guide for complete listings. Linda Carter makes a significant decision regarding her future. The Walford Six, Linda, Sharon Watts, Denise Branning, Suki Panesar, Kathy Cotton, and Stacey Branning, are putting forth extra effort to protect their deadly secret while the Keanu Taylor death investigation is ongoing. However, Linda is shocked to learn from her son Johnny Carter that Kathy Cotton and Suki Panesar had devised a scheme regarding what to do with the meat thermometer Linda used to stab Keanu. Linda becomes alarmed upon learning of Suki and Kathy's scheme, but Johnny promises to resolve the situation and see to it that Sharon Watts is released from the police station. Linda, dejected, goes to the Vic Barrel store and begins guzzling the beverage until George Knight discovers her and consoles her. His encouragement makes Linda realize what needs to be done, so she calls her accomplices to the Vic. A terrified Denise Branning is informed by the remaining members of the six of their plans about the murder weapon. However, Phil Mitchell breaks up their private chat. Has he had enough to hear? In other news, Harvey Monroe is resolved to bring Jean Slater to justice following Dean Wick's accusation that she tampered with Jade Massoud's prescription. Harvey visits Jade, knowing full well that his partner is innocent, and takes her medication box. He approaches Dean, who deftly manipulates the story to maintain his daughter's health issues while blaming Harvey and Jean. However, Stacy and Linda witness the men's intense argument as they square off in the square. Cindy Beale tries to persuade George to talk to Gloria Knight as he gets ready to testify at Eddie Knight's trial. Upon realizing that his birth mother was still being used by Eddie, the irate landlord showed her the door and vowed to cut ties with Gloria. Eddie later calls George to the boxing den and attempts to talk him out of testifying against him. However, when George informs Eddie that Gloria urged him to confront him in court, the atmosphere changes, and his father offers a menacing warning. Additionally, Yolanda Truman seeks solace from Honey and Billy Mitchell after being excluded from her own charitable endeavors. In order for him and his best friend Nugget Galati to entertain a bunch of girls at number 20, Denzel Danes urges Yolanda to go to prayer group. As Denzel lies to Nugget about stopping his steroids, the two men's friendship blossoms again. Nevertheless, Yolanda's unexpected arrival home interrupts the boys' preparations for the evening. When the doctor informs them that the disease would result in hearing and vision difficulties, they are distraught. Brittany is deaf and uses a hearing aid, as viewers witnessed at her EastEnders debut. When Whitney finds out more about Brittany's illness, she becomes distraught, and Zach concerns that Whitney, who is quite pregnant, may be unable to handle the stress. Later, the pair sends Brittany to Walford High for her first day of classes. Zach offers to register the child with the local doctor and inform them of Brittany's condition, but Whitney lies, saying she has already done so out of concern that the truth about her arrangement with Brittany's mother, Healy Wainwright, Kirsty J. Curtis, might surface.